This is your Game of Thrones news update for the past week, where I share with you what I consider to be the most important Game of Thrones news from about the past 7 days. Warning, there are spoilers for the final season of Game of Thrones in this video. Alright, let's start with random, unconfirmed news. Supposedly, a group of Unsullied attacks Sandor. Maybe because he runs his mouth about dragon bitches. Maybe because he calls them cockless cunts. Or maybe because this leak was made up to fuck with us. Now, King's Landing is where it's at for juicy final season details. Despite the increased security and secrecy, some amazing people got some photos of the King's Landing set, or what's being used for King's Landing, with some Lannister banners showing that it is still under control of the Lions. In these pictures, we see Cersei and another character, which says a lot about this season. However, first, I want to talk about Cersei's sexy new outfit. I know people are sick of all the black costumes, but I think all her dresses have been beautiful. Of course, her Queen's Guard are also there, including Gregor. Now, what's cool about these images? We see that someone else is in King's Landing. Jon Snow with some of his Northerners. So this further leads me to believe what I predicted earlier when I was talking about the Winterfell on fire videos in the previous news video. Winterfell falls and Jon, Dany, and company flee south to regroup and get Cersei to help. Oh, also in those photos we see those fucks D&D on set. As well, David Nutter is there, so this is likely in one of the episodes he directs this final season, episode 1, 2, and 4. So far it appears Winterfell and the White fight happens in the first 2 episodes, so Jon coming to Cersei in episode 2 or 4 makes sense. Maybe episode 4 if Jon leads the rest of his and Dany's army to a location further south, tells them to hold, and him and Dany are going for help. Or maybe Dany is heavily pregnant so she can't go, so Jon, having discovered that he's actually a Targaryen, mounts the dragon and goes to King's Landing and, you know, puts the other Northerners on the dragon too. Or maybe Jon flies on the dragon and the Northerners follow behind him. And don't agonize about the timing or how his people would keep up with him. The show never does. Speaking of King's Landing, look at the set they're building for the destruction scenes, because obviously they can't destroy the buildings they've used in the past for King's Landing. That fucker is massive. I am going to love watching it get wrecked in the final season. What is going to be left after the others devastate King's Landing? If we're lucky, just rubble. As well, there are some images of Kit Harington at this location, which I'm unsure what location in the show it's supposed to be. Maybe King's Landing, with some men in black. Part of me wants them to be faceless men, but I thankfully don't usually get what I want. There is some speculation these are in fact men of the Night's Watch. So with that being said, let's do a new segment I call Wild Speculation, where I make guesses that borderline on irresponsible. Ready? Jon is with members of the Night's Watch that survived the wall breach. They beat the others to Winterfell because the others are slow as fuck. Jon doesn't really stay at Winterfell long at any point in the final season, despite being king in the north and not really, remaining in the north and being king there. The Northerners decide, fuck this shit, make Sansa their queen in the north, and Winterfell quickly falls because Sansa is dumb as fuck. These guys in black are men of the Night's Watch, but there's no Ed because he died trying to stop the others' march, and that's why we don't see him with Jon. Dany is heavily pregnant by the time Jon meets up with Cersei again. He lets it slip, he knocked the Dragon Queen up. Cersei gets super pissed, realizing Jon and Dany will definitely turn on her now once she helps them and the other threat is done, so she sends forces with Jon to betray him when he's weak. These guys are faceless men to come offer their service to Jon as the others are upsetting the balance of death, and they're also intrigued that he cheated the many-faced god. Many shenanigans ensue. In George news, he still plans on completing the series in 7 books. But fear not, the fake Targaryen history book, Fire and Blood, is still planned for this year. So that is your Game of Thrones news update for the past week. Make sure you like, subscribe, and, complain about something down below. Not that I need to tell you to do that.